All right, Ani Otiv is a humor and culture writer.
Her story is about the time she found love on Anime Club Penguin.
Hi, everybody. I know you're so excited for your intermission. I'll be real quick. Um, how is everybody doing? Oh my God, thank you so much for having me, and just this is such a beautiful place. I'm here to spill some tea and throw someone under the bus today, so let's do it. Okay. This is the right crowd. Yeah. So it's the mid-2000s, okay, and it is a time when the internet is like a breeding ground for chaotic friendship, right? Like you were either on like a chat room or you were on Neopets, and there was like no in between. Like, and so in 2007, I decided to join my first social media network. You guessed it, Gaia Online. Okay, so some people know what that is. If you don't know what that is, it's basically like Club Penguin for people who watch anime. Like, it's so much worse. And I basically, yeah, I joined as like a little weeb myself, and I did what anyone does there. You get like a little cute anime character, you walk around in a virtual world, and you hopefully find your first boyfriend, you know? I did not find my first boyfriend, but I did find James, and that may or may not be a fake name. I'll let you decide. And James and I had a very quintessential internet friendship, okay? Like, we would talk about Kingdom Hearts mostly. And eventually we then talked about other things. So like we talked about, like I learned that he was from Connecticut and he was a musician and his parents sent him away to Christian sleepaway camp and he was my age. And that's just how I met James. And one day in high school, we decided to become Facebook friends, which is like a big barrier to cross. And I learned that James was really cute. I know, he was so cute. And I was like, I don't know, like I was like a hormonal teen and I just had this like little crush on him. But to me, I was like, it was healthy. It was good for my hormones, you know, like I feel like I never had a boyfriend at all remotely in high school. So like this was nice. Like we were not dating, but like in my mind we were. And it was nice, and it was so low stakes because the internet back then was something that you could turn off. And you could have a boyfriend 1 minute, close the family computer, and then forget about him. It was great. And so that's sort of how we were, and I think eventually, like all internet friendships at that age are, you eventually outgrow them, and we went to college and sort of went our separate ways. I learned that one day in 2013 that he unfollowed me on Instagram. It was 2013, so like I didn't really understand that that was a bad thing yet, you know? Like it didn't mean the same thing. I was like, oh, all right, I guess we're not friends anymore, okay. And so I literally forgot about James until June 2022. I know, very recent. I wake up one day in my little life in Brooklyn, where I've been living my best life, and I have a DM from James 10 years later, which is insane. And he's like, I heard you're living, like, I see you're living in New York now. I'm like, oh, you looked me up. I see. All right. And he's like, you might not even remember me. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember you. I certainly remember you. But I had to, like, play it cool. Yeah. So I, like, waited some time and was just like, oh, I remember you. I forgot, but I remember now. And, like, I have been waiting my whole life for this, okay? Like, isn't that everyone's dream to, like, have someone who like vaguely abandoned you come like crawling back for more? Like, oh my God, this was a dream come true. And so I learned he was living in Bushwick, which should have been my first red flag. Sorry. But like Connecticut moving to Bushwick, that's a very different kind of red flag. Okay. And I set up, I was blind. I'm like, we're meeting up, we're falling in love. I'm so ready. I just watched When Harry Met Sally. So I'm like, we are falling in love. And we arranged to have coffee and a walk in Prospect Park. Iconic first date. It was not a date. We meet up and like, it was like butterflies. It was surreal. And like this 1 hour coffee turned into 5 hours. And it was just, yeah, I'm like, no one needed to be spending that much time together. But like, I left that night with butterflies and like that crush again, and I was feeling it again. I was like, oh my God, I really think I just found the love of my life, like on Gaia Online. It happened. And shortly after that, he had to move home for 2 months, just 2 months. But our friendship, or whatever you want to call it, went back online again. And it was so much worse because I feel like it was the first time I could chart how my relationship with the internet got like awful, just so bad. I could no longer turn off the computer and forget about him. I was checking his DMs like every day. Every minute that went past that he didn't text me back was a horrible minute. And I was just waiting forever. And I remember one time asking him, why did you reach out after 10 years? And I don't even know if I wanted him to respond, but he said, I just wanted to know where you went. And I think any normal person would be like, sir, you went first? Like, I only went because you went. You famously unfollowed me. But I was still under like the When Harry Met Sally of it all, so I was just like, that's normal. And I kind of forgot about it, and closer to his return, we planned our reunion. We were like gonna meet at a bar, and I was so excited, and he sent me the most feral text message that to this day I'm like, how dare you? It was a text that said, Ani, I'm just so happy that you're back in my life, and I cannot wait to get to know you better, period. No emojis. I was like, okay, so you want to marry me, is what you're... Basically, right? Okay, and every group chat I have sent this to has said the same thing. Okay. And I go to this bar, we're reuniting, and he is like, I don't know, something is off suddenly. Like, it was like the enthusiasm that he had there was there again. He was like laughing at everything I said, which is like my love language. And he was making that like intense eye contact and all of that stuff he did the first time on day one, but like it was off. Like he was trying to feign something that wasn't there, or he was trying to put me at ease, you know? And it was this anxiety that I couldn't shake, but I really tried because I was like, he sent me a marriage proposal, like I think he wants to hang out. And I ended up inviting him to actually one of my like storytelling shows because I was like, we can like hang in a public setting, he can meet some of my friends, and also I can like flex on him, you know? Yeah, like asserting dominance is definitely the root of every healthy relationship, FYI. And I remember him enthusiastically putting this date in his phone. He like whips out his calendar and is like, it's in, I'll be there. We've communicated several times during the week. He's gotten tickets, apparently. And you can see where this is going. He fully did not show up to this show. And he ghosted my texts for 4 days. And 4 days later comes like sheepishly back with this like I was sick excuse. I'm like, all right, I've been stalking your Twitter replies, okay? I know you weren't sick. And I was right because literally 2 days later, through my routine stalking, I learned that he had a new girlfriend. Yeah. And there's like a few life lessons here, right? Don't let your kids use the internet, for one, I think is a big one. Also, I would say like Connecticut transplants in Bushwick was a mistake. Should never have happened. But the other one is that I finally saw myself the way James had seen me this entire time, two-dimensional and not real. He was able to engage with me when he wanted to, when I would show up in his algorithm, and he could turn me off when he wanted to. He simply couldn't deal with a complicated three-dimensional person. And when I really thought about it, I don't think I could deal with him either. And I stayed in this friendship limbo for a year. You know how it is. That was not the end. But there was so many how many awkward hangouts that were not dates but definitely were dates. We spent a whole night playing Kingdom Hearts. Unforgivable. Seriously bad. But the day that I came to my senses was I got a DM from him again, famous DM, in which he was I'm starting my own creative agency and I need people with your skill set to join. Blood-curdling, bone-chilling DM to receive from someone you have feelings for. And I did it. I handled it the way James would have handled it if he was in my position, you know? I mustered up all the fake enthusiasm I possibly had. I was like, that sounds great. I will get back to you. Yes, girl. And then I blocked him 2 minutes later. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Ani, thank you so much for joining us today for the after release craft interview. Your story was an insane hit with the crowd. People were on the edge of their seats. I know that listeners are on the edge of their seats still, and we can't wait to fill them in with a little backstory and also some answers about your practice and how you formed this beautiful piece that you shared, this hilarious piece that you shared, this relatable piece that you shared at the second release. So thank you so much for joining us.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, Ani. So jumping right in, we want to know how you identify creatively, especially because you tell stories in lots of different forms. So do you hold on to the title writer? Do you claim storyteller? Do you claim artist? And why?
That's a great question. I really think sometimes I think they all mean the same thing, but when people ask, I will say I'm a writer because that is the foundation of pretty much everything I do, even if the medium sometimes looks a little bit different. And I think that keeps it interesting to at my core, everything I do is writing, but sometimes it'll be on stage, sometimes it'll be on a podcast, or sometimes it'll be just in an article or an essay. And I think that's kind of the fun part of being a writer is it can just look so many different ways.
100%. Yeah, it's a very applicable skill to have.
Yeah.
Being that you do tell stories in different formats, how would you define your voice? And does it change depending on the different mediums that you're writing for?
I would say that my voice is I always like to approach every project as if I'm talking to a friend. I really like to make people feel welcome and safe when they are either reading something or hearing me talk. And I just think that even when if you're talking about something funny, my story was pretty funny. Obviously, people love to feel like they're hearing gossip. So that's something that I like to implement in my performance and in my writing. But even if you're talking about something really traumatic or something that's very personal or harder to speak about, it actually helps me to articulate those feelings when I feel like I'm talking to a friend. And so that actually has a lot to do with who is receiving the work, right? I feel like even if I am trying to speak to a friend, if someone is not open to that, it affects the way that's perceived. But that's one thing I love about performance is that it's a relationship, and it helps me feel like I'm talking to a friend to hear someone react or gasp or something.
It was so, I mean, you were the only storyteller that night that went off the cuff, so no notes. at all. How did you how did you develop the confidence and just the skill to be able to do that? Very
Oh
curious.
my. Well, I actually did write that story first. It wasn't like improvised or anything. There was like a few beats and a few lines that I knew I wanted to hit in that story. But I have a comedy background, as you mentioned, and an improv background, and that I think has always really helped. Like, I don't know, there's a reason why they send like people who work in corporate jobs to take like an improv 101 class, because it like really is, it helps with your public speaking, it helps with your confidence to just like trust the process a little bit. One thing I will say is that it is really scary to go up without a script, but I think that's where a lot of the editing comes for me too. Like when I'm on stage, like maybe I'll have five beats that I'm like, I know I have to say this line, and this line. Usually those lines are not the ones that get the reaction. It's like the something else that I said that just came up based on like how the audience was feeling. And that is what usually gets the reaction. And that's kind of a way that I like to edit in real time because sometimes like those things just don't come to me if I'm writing it down on paper. So I actually treat that like improv on stage, like off the cuff, as like a very sacred part of my writing process. And you just end up learning so much. And yeah, it's just really special to see like what comes out of it. And oh my God, I also have to just say that the audience that night was so receptive and like I felt like a superstar. Like they were just
You
so
are.
great. Yeah.
Yes, you got the it was there was some call and response stuff happening. Like,
There
you know,
was
people
like
were
I almost incited a riot. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you did.
no, for sure, for sure. Like, you know, there were some questions in real time being asked or some affirmation after things that you said. So it was
I
very
love
magical
that.
to see in real time.
Yeah, I really loved that part of it.
Ani, what do you think is the anatomy of a good story?
Um, I think has to come from somewhere truthful, and I don't think that means like the entire story needs to be true. Genuinely, I think like we can tell stories of like princesses that live in like magical lands, and there can still be an element of truth to it. For me, I think the most important part of any story is who is speaking. And I will only resonate with that story if the person telling me resonates with it too. So that's why, yeah, I think that like the person speaking is just a really big part of it and having some kind of truthful element. Like maybe it's like, yeah, I mean, in this case, this was like 100% a true story. But the reason it resonated with so many people is they were like, oh, clearly this person's really affected by it. And it reminds me of something that I've experienced in my life. And that like overall theme, that truthful element, I think is just so critical. And it's actually maybe the hardest part because I don't know, the hardest part about storytelling is like putting your life on the line and like just, saying something that maybe is like hard to talk about. I never thought I would share that story actually because I was like, this is kind of embarrassing for me. And then I was like, actually, it's not embarrassing at all. Actually, so many people have gone through it.
Yeah,
So that like truthful element is actually what brings people together in the end. It actually makes you feel less alone.
100%. Another one of our questions for you was, what is the function of honesty in your work? And it sounds like
Oh,
it is absolutely
it's a
essential.
really big part. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's essential. Even if you're talking like about something that's made up or fiction, like that truth is just needed.
yeah.
How did you decide what to leave in and what to kind of omit, especially with your piece?
Well, I think like so there actually are a few drafts of this story, and the first draft is like will probably never see the light of day because not only is it like completely there's just like maybe too much in there that I felt like oh, this is actually coming from a negative place. Like, I think a lot of my first drafts are like, this is raw emotion that has not been curated. It's angry, it's sad, it's filled with like maybe some self hatred and like blaming yourself. And no one wants to read that. Like, and certainly I don't want to write that. Like, I don't want to be putting myself down. So I think like I like to leave out things that either put me down or maybe are just like irrelevant. Cause like even talking about another person, I feel a little weird about that. Like I feel strange putting this other person out in the open who maybe like didn't realize it. But all I can do is talk about what happened to me and not assume things about this person's life or like bring up things that are irrelevant. So like I think yeah, my approach is definitely to make sure that I am representing myself first and not trying to speak for other people.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm sitting on a piece right now that I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna have to write about someone.
Yeah, but it's
Uh,
kind of fun, isn't it? Like it's
it,
juicy.
it
it
is.
is. It is. It's like, we could talk about ourselves all day, but I think when you throw another person in there and what your relationship was to them at the time and how that made you feel, it still is
It's
one
still your
one
story.
perspective, one side of the truth. It
Hmm.
is. It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
I think, and not claiming that it's a whole. I feel like you did that beautifully with this piece of where we are. This is POV of Ani in
Yes.
this situation.
Yes,
Yeah.
Where
and that is a truth in itself. Like maybe James would like hear that and be like, "That's not what happened," but like, that's I don't know. That's his truth, right?
Right.
right,
Exactly.
exactly.
And you talked about just the amazing feeling of getting that feedback from the audience. And as we said, this is
Hmm.
such a relatable story, and it can be really affirming when you share your work and get that response. Overall, what is your relationship to sharing and releasing your work? Has it been something that hasn't always been easy for you?
Definitely. Oh my God. It's so hard to identify as a writer because everything you write then just means so much. And like, I just feel like my entire identity is staked on anything that I produce.
Oh, wow.
And that makes it really hard to like, even just like release a newsletter, like a freaking Substack. Like, I'm just like, what does this say about me? Like, and which you should be asking those questions, but it can sometimes hold you back because we're always our toughest critic, and the way we want to be perceived is usually like some person that doesn't exist. And so I guess my relationship with sharing is a little bit complicated. It's always first met with resistance, but I can say like 95 if not 99% of the time that I have shared work, either like published it or just shared it with a friend or performed it on stage, it has always been met with some kind of like empathy or love or response in some way. And I can't think of one instance where I've shared work and people have been like, that's terrible. Like, you should stop. Like, no one has ever done that. And so, I don't know. I think it's a lifelong process of like trusting that if you share things, there is someone out there that will resonate with it, and that is really why we do it.
Absolutely. I love that.
100%. What is your current practice, honey? There's some people who write on the train, some people write daily, some people wait for inspiration to strike. Because
Mm.
you're really dabbling in a lot of multiple mediums of storytelling. What your practice look like currently?
So I was working a corporate job for many, many years that was like very fulfilling in that way, but it didn't leave me time to do anything else. So since then I have gone freelance, which was intentional to give me more space to write. Obviously, like when I did that, I was not spending like every waking moment writing the way I thought I would. So I do think like prioritizing writing and making it like reminding myself that this is what I really, really want, um, has been really helpful to make time for it. And it's helped me like change my career path, which has been great, and still take care of myself, still pay the bills. But also, I would say that like writing for me does come in waves. Like I always say that like the best things I write or the projects that I complete are the ones that I'm like a little bit possessed by. Like sometimes I'll write something and maybe I'll know right away. I'm like, I'm writing this because I think it's gonna get the most clicks, or like I think it's like you can just tell when you're like, oh, I'm writing this for validation. Like
Yes,
I'm not,
yes.
and and then there are other moments where like and those things take really long to write. Those things are not easy to write. They take for freaking ever. And then you're just like,
Mm,
well, that's done, I guess. But then there are other things that you write where like I can't describe it other like in any other word than like you were possessed by it and you were like, I was
yes.
born to make this. And those things feel a lot easier to write. And so suddenly I'm not like scrambling to like do it on a weekend. I'm like, it's all I think about every train ride. Like every minute I can, like, I have to breathe. I want to work on it. And those are really special. Like, you can't force it, but like when it happens, like, I really feel like I have to trust it and just like go for it.
Hmm. Those are the
Oh,
best.
whew,
That's
that's
the dream.
excellent. It is. I hope everyone knows what it is to kind of be possessed by an idea, or that feeling is addicting. It really is.
Yeah, it didn't happen to me for so long, actually. And I think, like, for a while, I was making a lot of excuses to not make things because I come from an immigrant family. We are taught to prioritize stability, we are taught to, like, survive. And sometimes I'm like, oh, my parents did all of that so that I could make these choices, so that I could say that, like, hey, writing is my, like, number one love. It's something I want to do all the time. And when you're chasing something you love, sometimes that's like the most stable thing you can do.
Ooh, that part. That
I
part.
gave myself chills just now.
We have some burning questions for you now, Ani.
Okay.
Just I think one of mine would be, there you started the story, which I think got the crowd, it made them buckle their seatbelts immediately, where you're like, we're about to drag somebody under the bus, tonight. And people went crazy. People went nuts because they were like, oh my God, yes, finally, we get to do this with somebody. And one of an author that I love, Deisha Philyaw, when I was doing an interview with her, she mentioned something called fantastic first liners, and you
Mm.
had plenty of them in the piece itself. I'd love to
Wow,
know
thank
what
you.
your process of formulating them are, because you called them beats, but really you had some really really heavy hitting first liners that kept pulling people in, and made them want to know more, and they were wondering how this is going to end, and what's going to happen to my man's, what's going to happen to you. What's the
Wow.
process for hitting those fantastic first liners?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, thank you so much. I think it kind of goes back to what I was saying about like talking to a friend, because as soon as that, like, like as soon as your friend is like, I have gossip, like I have something huge to tell you, I'm like, okay, this is about to make my entire week, like I'm gonna be
Right.
talking about this forever. And like, because I love to feel like I'm talking to a friend, I sometimes think that's the easiest way to like to approach someone or to like tell them anything. Another thing I will say, I don't know if I forget where I heard this. My brother told me this, but he heard it from someone else. So anyway, he was saying like in stand-up comedy, the most important part of your set is to first tell people, like before you even get into jokes, you need to first let people know who you are. And like maybe that, and that usually is in some kind of joke. You'll see like a lot of comedians make jokes of like, I'm like this. Like, I feel like they're like, that's a thing that I do. And that is like, yes, self deprecating jokes are a great, easy win, but it's also a way to establish like who you are to the audience, because otherwise they're just like, who the heck is this person?
Mm.
And yeah, so I think like by saying things like we're going to drag someone under the bus, I feel like you already know who I am or
Ooh,
like what I
yes,
prioritize or what I look
yes.
for. And that line wasn't written actually, but I think like it might as well have been. Like, I don't know.
No, it felt like, I thought it was like a part of the piece, because yeah, you're right. You're establishing who you
Hmm.
are, but also we're very interested in what kind of dragging are we gonna do tonight? Like
Yeah.
it's
Exactly. Yeah, I'm like, these
yes.
people don't know who I am, but like, we're all
Well,
just gonna party.
and it goes back to that what we spoke about with voice, right? Like the person who would say something like that, or the lines that you use are reflective of who you are and how you think and the language you use.
Absolutely.
I love that tip. Let people know who you
Yes.
are.
And My second question, before we go to the surprise, would
Oh my
be
God.
per this specific story, Ani, and it touches on the gray area of will they, won't they? Are we this thing that I want it to be in my mind? Like I am the one reading poems to myself in the mirror. Um, what advice would you give, having had this experience, to listeners about navigating that gray area of friendship and romance?
Oh my God. Well, the advice I would give is the advice I always get and ignore, which is to communicate things up front and not sit in the gray area. Like, I am so familiar with the gray area to the point where I'm like, that's what relationships are. Like, relationships are gray area, right? And no, they're not. Like, I think a lot of things in life are a lot clearer than we think they are, and it
Yep.
can be really, really scary just to clarify up front and be like, hey, what is going on here?
Mhm.
And it's something that I, to this day, have a lot of trouble doing. Um, but yeah, I guess I would give that advice to my younger self, to anybody, to my current self.
I needed it too, girl. I received the advice as well.
It's just so fun. It's so
I
fun
am
to not know what's
lost in
going
your
on.
gray.
It is. It's
I
too fun to not
know.
know. It's
You
it's
know?
like you're living in a terrible romance novel at that point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love
Like,
being a
Like
full
I'm being like a
detective.
detective. Exactly.
not a detective.
That's
I do not want to.
craziness.
I do not want to CSI in my own life. Like I need to know at a certain point. Not a detective, Gwen.
I get you. So, Ani, the last thing we're going to do with you is pull a question from our friendship deck of All Too Human. All Too Human are our conversation cards, the cards that we gave out to the folks that attended our release. So, I have 100 questions here. You can pick a number between 1 and 100.
um, 4.
4.
Ooh, nice and low.
What qualities do you value most in a friend?
Oh my gosh. I value a friend who lets me come as I am, where I don't feel as though I am like projecting a certain side of myself or trying to like maintain an image. Um, and I think there's room for those friends too. I don't think those friends are bad friends, but I think what I value in like truly a lifelong friend and in my lifelong friends, I feel like I can just show up and say what I'm gonna say. And that doesn't like maybe they'll like that doesn't mean you can say whatever you want, but like I can just speak very comfortably and feel very safe. Safety. I think that's a big one. I
Absolutely.
love
Critical,
that
non
question.
Yeah, that's a
judgmental.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Because I just saw the other day on TikTok, because now TikTok is like the new news. I'm like, I saw a TikTok video that said, they're talking about how the friends that have dropped off in their life have been the ones that had to perform around. And
Ooh, I
yeah,
have not
and
seen that TikTok, but I relate.
it's gonna come up now.
Yeah,
Since we're
it
talking about
will.
It's in the
it,
I
will.
mean, I'm
It's
ether
on my
gonna
phone
appear.
right now.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's gonna come up. The algorithm. Like, but I totally relate with that as well. And it's like, yeah, there's room for those folks of where you're like, hey, coffee, tea, can see each other every once in a while. But there's so many areas in our life we already have to perform and where we don't
Yeah.
feel safe. So it is wonderful that you found some folks that you can do that with. Truly.
Definitely, I do. I love my friends. Shout out to my friends.
Shout out to our
Shout out.
friends. Shout out to the friends. This has been fantastic, Ani. There's so much stuff. I've learned some stuff today, truly.
Mhm.
And you maybe Glenn and I will take an improv class
I
together.
know, that'd be
Please
fun.
do.
We should.
We
That
should
would be
do
great.
that.
We should do
Please
that.
do. And let
Yeah.
me know when you do.
Yeah, like let us know what improv, if you
Where
have
you
like
go.
a troupe, or where you go
Yeah.
for classes, and we'll do a little
Wow.
craft and release improv.
Yeah, I'll think about that. Oh my God. I haven't taken a class in so long, but there's some new places now around Brooklyn and stuff that are doing a lot of cool things.
Wow.
Cool.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us. You're stuck with us now, Ani. So, well,
Thank God.
more riots to start. More riots to start in
Yes.
2024.
Yes. Oh my God, I can't wait. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.